nicht lange.
Wait,
das war doch der Kanal, der früher einfach jedem empfohlen wurde, ne? Da war dieses eine Video, was einfach jedem empfohlen wurde. Mit dem, einen School-Shooter-Dude. Verrückt.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, grab me some water real quick. I need to get some stuff put in here. That's my card. I know I introduced myself to you at your house, but my name is Lisa Reeves, okay? And I am a detective here at the Charlottesville Police Department.
Okay.
So before I want to talk to you, I want to make sure you do understand your rights, okay? And that way I can explain to you what's going on and all that good stuff. Do you understand? You understand that? Okay. Today's date is May the 3rd, 2010. The current time is, all right, your first name is George?
Yes.
G-E-O-R.
I didn't. There's no way I didn't do it. No way.
Okay, was passiert hier? This hardcore chilling?
Why did you guys come in and say
Yeah.
you were searching for an assault?
Versucht zu
I
faken?
never said anything about an assault.
Someone came in this
I
morning.
never mentioned to you anything. Just told you we're investigating something. Wanted to know.
Investigating.
Do you want me to call anybody for you, George?
It's an interesting concept to think of how you might
Der Typ hat so eine geile Stimme, ne? Im Vergleich zu den anderen Sprechern, oh, diese Basslastigkeit, Bruder.
respond to what would normally be an easy question, especially during a circumstance where it becomes a terrifying dilemma. We ask that you contemplate this question while you put yourself in George's position, but not before you grasp the context of what brought him to this moment. It begins with 22-year-old sports scholar Yardley Love, a star lacrosse player at the University of Virginia. She is captured in this photograph playing in the second-to-last game of the season, clearly aware of the obstacles that lie in front of her, yet continuing to move forward, which is the circumstantial detail that turned this picture into a symbol for the globally recognized organization that would be founded in her memory. This would be the last photograph taken that day, capturing Yardley's last embrace with her head coach Julie Myers. Both were unaware this exact moment would soon be on the national front pages. On May 3, 2010, at roughly 2:15 a.m., Yardley's roommate returned from a night out to their off-campus apartment. Upon entering, she saw that Yardley's bedroom had been broken into, at which point she rushed inside to find her unresponsive on the mattress. She had blood coming out of her nose and severe bruising across the right side of her face. But the most alarming thing was that she wasn't waking up. Her friend called 911, who instantly guided her through the steps of CPR, which was then taken over by paramedics who arrived on the scene 4 minutes later. But their attempts at revival were unsuccessful, and Yardley was pronounced dead at exactly 2:47 a.m. At 2:53 that same morning, criminal investigator Lisa Reeves woke up to a phone call from the sheriff's office. By 2:59, she had arrived at Yardley's apartment leading the investigation, and by 3:50, confirmed that she had her first person of interest, which was 22-year-old George Hughley V, Yardley's ex-boyfriend, and the next several hours were spent gathering information before she knocked at his front door. She found out that George was a fifth-generation heir to a very wealthy American family, whose roots lay in lumber dating back to the 1900s. He was educated at Landon Prep, a prestigious all-boys private school in Bethesda, Maryland, with annual tuition fees of up to $50,000. George was the star player of the lacrosse team and became an All-American athlete. This led to a full scholarship at the University of Virginia, where he remained a key player in the starting lineup, and where he would also meet, then spark a romance with fellow lacrosse player Yardley Love. They dated for almost 2 years.
Hughley and Love's relationship was an on-again, off-again one, where they cheated on each other throughout and that tempers flared both ways.
What was going on with these two young people? What may have led someone to do what happened? These are just a completely unbelievable set of facts.
Everybody watched the relationship. People were really troubled by it. They were scared for her. Nobody knew what to do.
Yardley ended the relationship in 2010, just 2 weeks before graduation. 9 days later, she was found dead in her bedroom. And that same morning, George Hughley would hear a knock at his front door. He opened to Detective Lisa Reeves, who was dressed in civilian clothing. She introduced herself as a police officer, but mentioned nothing of the crime. She simply stated that she was conducting an investigation that could benefit from his presence at the sheriff's office. George's response was to lethargically put on his flip-flops, then walk over to the passenger side door of her unmarked police car and let himself in. Somewhat bewildered, Lisa got in and drove them to the police station a few minutes away without talking. It was around then when she noticed bruising on his knuckles and cuts on his forearm, at which point George was no longer a person of interest. He was the prime suspect.
Okay, wilde Beziehung. Beide sind fremdgegangen, beide haben gecheatet und beide haben sich über Yardley kennengelernt. Nicht Yardley, über Lacrosse. Und jetzt einfach umgebracht? Was ist denn der Inhalt des Videos dann noch? Dass er crazy ist. Oder dass er nicht fliehen wollte. Oder ich bin gespannt. Wir sind jetzt schon probieren. Let's guess.
Did you say you did want water, didn't you? I know I introduced myself to you at your house, but my name is Lisa Reeves. Today's date is May the 3rd, 2010. The current time is, I can't tell on that one, 7:52, okay?
My drama papers too.
What's that?
My drama's papers still right now.
All right, your first name is George?
Yes.
Right away, you'll come to notice that George is oblivious to the gravity of his situation, and it would be very safe to assume that he at this moment is unaware that Yardley has died. He seems to believe that he's in as much trouble as he would be sitting in a principal's office, perhaps for getting in a fight at class or on the lacrosse field, and the sooner he provides a sanitized version of the truth, the sooner he'll get to go home. This, of course, ties in perfectly with the interrogator's opening strategy, which we've labeled warmth for the sake of this video. She will downplay the severity of his situation to a considerable degree, while maintaining a friendly temperament with a sympathetic undertone. She needs the suspect to feel safe and secure for the time being, as the less cautious he is, the more information he's likely to give away. Then as soon as he locks himself into one particular storyline, the pressure can commence, which often leads to a suspect being laden with panic and contradictions.
Before we ask you any questions, you must understand your rights. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you in court. You have the right to talk to a lawyer before questioning and have one present during questioning. If you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be provided for you. And if you're willing to talk to us now, you have the right to stop talking anytime.
George has two options here. Option one is to remain silent, then allow his father to get him the most expensive attorneys in the country. He would then have years to examine the evidence, evaluate the many options available, and then construct the most self-preserving storyline with world-renowned experts in criminal defense before they present it to a jury. Unfortunately for George, he takes option two. But before he does, rewatch the flawlessly reassuring manner in which he's given the final piece of the Miranda warning.
And if you're willing to talk to us now, you have the right to stop talking anytime. Got it?
Yep.
Awesome. Just need your signature there that you understand your rights and are willing to talk to us. And the time now is 7:53.
Ich weiß, also, ist das so cool, dass es fein ist, dass sie ihn so manipuliert, kinda? Ich meine, im Fall eines Mörders, der später überführt wird, wird sich niemand beschweren. Aber was, wenn jemand geframed wird von dem Detective oder von irgendwem anderen oder wem auch immer und dann unschuldig in so down the rabbit hole geleitet wird? Also sie macht das super, keine Frage. Sie manipuliert ihn klasse. Mit den verbalen, sie hebt am Ende des Satzes die Stimme an, bla bla bla. Augenkontakt am Ende, bla, alles gut, aber ist das gut? Er darf ja silent sein, er muss nicht reden. Ich weiß. Er muss nicht, aber sie manipuliert ihn ja da rein, dass er sich sicher fühlt. Und in dem Fall auch fein mit einem Mörder halt, I get it, aber im Allgemeinen, die Beweise müssen ja trotzdem passen, ja, aber das sagst du jetzt und trotzdem gibt es sehr viele dokumentierte Fälle in den USA, wo es ja nicht passt und es einfach niemand interessiert, gerade bei Minderheiten in der Bevölkerung. Und am Ende niemanden Fick gibt und Leute, ja, auch auf andere Art und Weise natürlich einfach hops genommen werden, als das, was hier passiert. Finde ich fein, ist nicht fein. Leute, was sie machen möchte, ist mir klar. Mir geht es bloß um, sollte eine Beamtin des Staates möglicherweise unschuldige Leute so manipulieren dürfen. Basically, right? Wenn du unschuldig bist, wirkt sich das versichern so aus, wie mit dir gesprochen wird. Also, wir können, also auf dem gleichen Kanal gab es das eine Video mit dem großen, nee, das hier, das Falsely Accused Video, das haben wir schon mal geguckt. Und da werden genau solche Sachen halt gemacht von den Cops, Der Typ war vor allem krass, weil der war confident, bla bla bla, das haben wir schon mal vor Ewigkeiten gesehen. Und da werden die gleichen Sachen benutzt gegen Unschuldige, wo quasi entweder der Cop oder aber vielleicht Freunde, weil der Typ hier wurde vom Cop quasi, einfach weil er schwarz war, war der Cop gegen ihn und der Typ hier wurde von Freunden geframed oder von seiner Ex wurde der geframed, der andere, der hier. Der wurde von seiner Ex geframed. Und da haben aber die Cops genau das Gleiche gemacht bei unschuldigen Leuten und die waren teilweise unschuldig im Gefängnis. Ist das actually gut? Weil sie wird jetzt hier dafür zelebriert, weil er schuldig ist, aber actually, da müsste ich mir nochmal mehr Gedanken drüber machen. Ich glaube, ich bin mir da nicht sicher. Eine schwere Situation. Und es ist auch cool, dass dann dieser Kanal hier beides halt abdeckt, ne? Also, der deckt halt auch viel mehr ab, I guess, aber ich habe das Video halt mal geguckt vor Ewigkeiten. Und das war auch sehr, sehr interessant. Oh fuck, ich habe nach vorne geskippt.
Self-preserving storyline.
Also gerade in Amerika mit Todesstrafe und wie Leute verklagt werden und was passiert, ist es schon. I'm not sure, Matt. I'm not sure.
Piece of the Miranda warning.
Got it?
Yep.
Awesome. Just need your signature there that you understand your rights and are willing to talk to us. And the time now is 7:53. All right. Let's kind of start. I'm going to kind of ask you some questions, and like I said, we'll explain things a little bit later. Tell me about your day yesterday.
Played golf with our parents. It was a father-son. Good event. I went to dinner with my dad and my two buddies, and then went home, went to the bar for like a little while. Then I went over to talk to Yardley, and
Who's Yardley?
Yardley is my former girlfriend,
Okay.
which this whole thing's about, which I understand, but
George has now initiated the investigative subject matter himself. It's the perfect opening scenario for the interrogator because she's given nothing away, making it more likely for him to reveal details that will contradict the evidence.
when I went over to talk to Yardley, I like was like, Yardley, and she was like already like totally freaked out because of what she did this past like a few days ago, and we haven't talked since, and I was just gonna go talk to her.
Mm-hmm.
Yardley slept with another lacrosse player from North Carolina the week before, which is what he just referred to.
And she was already like, oh, like,
Also fremdgegangen und sie war sauer.
like,
Weil sie war doch
you
vor.
can't come in, you can't come in. And I
Einfach
was
zuhören,
like,
actually. Halt mein
I'm
Maul.
like, just trying to talk to you.
The investigation team obviously had no way of knowing this, and George has now confessed to the crime of second-degree trespass. More importantly, however, he's just confessed to initiating the supposed confrontation. He now can't say that he was somehow tricked or misled into that situation. He knowingly stepped into it, and the critical fact he can actually recognize and remember this will be used against him repeatedly in the future.
And like, she like started being like getting like all like, you know, like really like defensive. She was already like on the defensive edge, and like I was like, listen, I'm not here to like, I'm just here to talk
Okay,
to
wird das
you.
Video darauf abzielen, dass er ist ja irgendwie ein adeliger Sohn in der 5. Generation von Holzarbeitern und er ist so verwöhnt, spielt mit seinem Vater Golf, extrem reiche Familie, dass er legit einfach nicht realisiert hat, dass er jemanden umgebracht hat? Und jetzt ergibt einfach alles preis und sie muss ja gar nichts machen. Sie sitzt einfach da und guckt ihn an. Sie sitzt halt da und er ist ja verrückt.
And she like got all like sat up, like her bed's against the wall, like if it was in this corner, she was like up against the wall, and I was like we were sitting there talking, and like she started being like you know, like getting like all like aggressive after this, and so I was like, all right, like chill out, like, and shove her a little bit.
So just to recount what George said over the last 47 seconds, Yardley was defensive. While being in a defensive state, she backed up against the wall. She then became aggressive. George's response to this supposed aggression was to initiate physical contact.
And she started being like freaking out, and I was like, listen, I'm not like here to do anything. I'm here to talk to you about everything that's ensued in the past week. And she was like, and like sort of like being like, no, like hitting her head, like stop, like she was in the corner, I was sitting on the bed, I was like, stop, like, I was like, we were like, what the hell, like, we were just gonna talk.
So let's go back half a minute and dissect what actually just happened there.
And so I was like, all right, like, chill out, like, and choke her a little bit.
He will now say the words, "and she started being like," then simultaneously mimic a body colliding with the wall. He will then stop himself mid-thought and subtly modify the detail.
And she started being like freaking out, and I was like, listen. And she started being like freaking out.
He goes from illustrating Yardley hitting the wall to, as he states, freaking out.
And
he seems to realize mid-sentence this isn't the best way to explain her injuries, so he changes the detail to buy himself time.
And she started being like freaking out, and I was like, listen, I'm not like here to do anything, I'm here to talk to you.
He carefully shifts the topic from Yardley to himself, and keeps it there for 8 seconds before attempting to re-explain what occurred in a more self-preserving manner.
And she was like, and like started like being like, no, like hitting her head like.
No jury on the planet will believe that Yardley was voluntarily slamming her head against the wall with enough force to cause fatal brain damage. All George has done here is give away the fact that he knows Yardley has sustained some type of head injury, and now lied on record about how it was inflicted.
I was like, Yardley, like, what the hell, like, we were just gonna talk, and like, it was not at all like a good conversation, because that's like, she was already like freaking out with just even seeing me there.
Okay. What happened next?
What happened next, and she just kept hitting her head against the wall while she was sitting on the bed, and I was like, and I grabbed her and I like shook her. I was like, stop, like, we need to, like, and looked at her. I was like, we need to like talk about this. And like, I mean, I was holding her arms and stuff, but like, I never struck her. I never like hit her like in the face or anything. I was just like, we need to talk. And she was so like, oh, I mean, what's the word? Like, you know, like flopping a fish out of the water, like so, like all this.
Was für eine weirde Story. No? Also allein physisch, er will quasi uns gerade bedeuten machen, dass sie wie Dobby-Style ihren Kopf gegen die Wand haut und er sich davon abholen konnte oder was. Und deswegen, I mean, come on. Aber ich habe jetzt die ganze Zeit auch überlegt, ob er vielleicht einfach nicht weiß, dass sie tot ist. Vielleicht dachte er, also, I guess, er hat sie gegen die Wand geschubst oder mehrmals gehauen. Ich weiß nicht, wie krass makaber das Video noch sein wird und was er gemacht hat und was dieser armen Frau passiert ist, aber vielleicht denkt er einfach, es ist gar nicht so schlimm und er ist deswegen so offen, weil er einfach dachte, er weiß, ist ja verrückt. Let's listen.
Like, I'm not here to like fight with you or like do anything.
Er weiß nicht, ich habe es am Anfang gesagt, wirklich? Dann habe ich es verpasst. Ich dachte, er wusste nicht, warum er aufs Präsidium geholt wird. Und deswegen kommt er mit. Aber er redet ja sofort über das Thema, also scheint er doch zu wissen.
I talk to you, and like, and she's like, no, like, get away from me. You have to leave. 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 Like all this stuff. And I was like, all right, like fine, like, but like I want to talk to you after all this, and like I was like a little bit persistent because of the situation. You know, my former girlfriend who. Something happened last week, you know, and I was like, all right, like, well, so we were like talking over there, and I mean, somehow we ended up, somehow I was resting her on the floor, and I was just like, stop, I just like, and I was holding her.
I was holding her. I was a little bit persistent. I was wrestling her on the floor. All further evidence that designates George as the aggressor. He's completely shut down his ability to argue any sort of self-defense claim.
And then the conversation, I could tell, was just like, it was not going anywhere and nothing was happening. And she like went back to bed and I left. And I went back home.
Okay.
Phase 1 is now complete. The suspect has unknowingly locked himself into a storyline that will put him away for a very long time. The risk of him shutting down or requesting a lawyer is no longer a primary concern. So the interrogator will now increase the pressure. She will confront him on certain elements that she pretended to overlook before, and the ideal scenario is to cause just enough panic so that he backpedals on previous statements and contradicts himself.
All right, so you go over there, knock on the door.
Her front door was open. Her room door was closed. I knocked like Yardley, like she heard me open the door and went in.
All right. Went in where?
To her room.
All right, straight to her bedroom?
Straight to her bedroom, yeah. I mean.
How'd you get through the door?
Her door or the front door?
Her door.
Actually, it might have been locked.
It was.
Yeah. Actually, yeah.
Just be honest with me.
Yeah, no, yeah, it was locked, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think I put a hole.
Yeah. You punched a hole through the door.
Pretty sure, actually, now. Yeah,
Oh
that I
mein
used to
Gott.
have that, yeah.
Ja,
Why'd you
wie
do
konnte ich
that?
das vergessen? Ich habe meine Faust genommen und habe das Holz kaputt gemacht. Und auf einmal war das Schloss offen. Ja, actually, now it's all coming back to me.
Pretty sure, actually, now.
Oh my
that
God.
I used to have that, yeah.
Alright.
Pretty sure.
Why'd you do that?
Well,
talk to
I
you? What
guess,
you doing?
yeah, once I was in her room, she was like very like, you know, like, or like, no, I'm not, like, I don't want to talk to you, like all this stuff. And she was very like, you know, very on edge, like, I don't want to talk, like, I don't want to talk, like, you know.
Okay.
I was like, listen, like, what you pulled last week was outrageous. Like, I just want to talk to you.
Why'd you punch the door then?
A very unusual time to interrupt a suspect in such a contentious manner. He was giving away self-incriminating information that could be used to establish a motive. He was doing exactly what the lead investigator wanted. But Detective Ed has now stopped him in his tracks. It's a reckless maneuver at this point in the interrogation, which Detective Reeves is no doubt conveying at this moment through nonverbal communication. She now has to let the suspect respond as to not undermine their position.
Die ist nicht glücklich. Die hasst diesen Ed.
Because I want
An
to
der Maul
talk to
Ed,
her.
hat ihr Blick gesagt.
Detective Reeves will now bring his guard back down through a reassuring tone and gently guide his train of thought back to his grievances with the victim. She pulls this off in 3 questions.
Alright, well continue on. That's fine, continue on. So you're talking to her and she doesn't want to talk to you?
Not really. I mean, we talked though. Like, there was parts where we were talking, and then like.
Do you know what you're talking about?
I mean, about so many different things.
Okay. Like what?
Like what she did last week.
Mm-hmm.
Like, went to like Carolina. She went to Carolina and hooked up with someone Sunday when we were still trying to figure out things. And I was over there like to talk. Like, I was like, this is outrageous, because I was trying to make everything better, and then like, you know, she was very defensive because she knew like how upset I was, because I've told her like through emails like how upset I was like about what she did.
Ja, die
And
will
so I
dafür
was
jetzt
like,
abbrochen.
and I sat on the edge of it. I was like, listen, like, I want to talk to you. Like what you did was bullshit. Like that's not like okay. And I was just like, and she's like not like you know, she's like you know, sort of pushing everything that she did to the back burner, and like talking about like you know, like trying to like put everything that she did like wasn't important. It kept
Wie erklärt
going
man
to
sein
the point where-
Verhalten? Ist er quasi von seiner eigenen Brutalität, also, was er gemacht hat, ist ja komplett crazy. Er will mit seiner Ex-Freundin reden, schlägt die Tür ein und tötet sie. Ist er selbst davon quasi so delusional traumatisiert, dass er nicht versteht, dass ein Anwalt für sich reden lassen sollte oder was, in welcher Position er ist? Er ist doch komplett. Er ist ja so, also ist er verrückt oder nicht? Wir brauchen einen Like-Counter, macht daraus kein Trinkspiel. Er weiß nicht, dass sie tot ist. Das habe ich jetzt auch mitbekommen. Ihr meinte, das hat vorhin der Sprecher gesagt. Aber selbst, also, I guess, der Punkt ist, er weiß nicht, dass sie tot ist und denkt deswegen, alles ist halb so schlimm. Er hat quasi maximal Hausfriedensbruch begangen und Sachbeschädigung, weil er die Tür kaputt gemacht hat, oder wie? Ein kleines bisschen Körperverletzung, oder was? Aber ist doch, like, ist doch, also. Aber in seinen eigenen Kopf hat er sich verloren.
where she, like, I was like, listen, like, we have to figure, like, out what's going on. And she was like, I'm not talking to you. And then she, like, pushed me, like, get out of here. Like,
So, wenn meine Tür einschlägt, will ich auch nicht mit
and
ihm
I
reden,
was
bin
like,
ich ehrlich.
no, and, like, I was like, be like, we have to talk, like, so, like, get, like,
When you're doing that, what are you holding on her?
on her arms.
On her arms, like maybe up here?
Like shoulders, yeah.
Shoulders.
Like, be like, come on, like, you know, and that's when she was like wiggle and like, be like, get away, and like, you know, like hide get in the corner, like really aggressive, like defensively almost. And then she ended. I think she was back in bed, and I left. I was like, this is not going anywhere.
How'd she get back in bed?
We were like wrestling, and we stood up, and I tossed her. I pushed her onto the bed. I was like, go to bed. Like, I'll talk to you later.
Did you touch her neck area at all? Did you choke her at one point?
I may have grabbed her a little bit by the neck when we were like, but I never like strangled her.
Okay.
But I mean, during the whole like commotion, you know, like I might have grabbed her neck, but I never was like strangling her.
Okay.
More detail that was unknown to the investigation. The fact that he grabbed her neck can now be used as evidence. It paints a more frightening picture of the incident with relation to the suspect's aggression toward the victim. This was an extremely damaging revelation for George's defense. The discussion moves to the moment he left, and George admits that he took Yardley's laptop.
Why'd you grab her laptop?
Because I was so pissed that she wouldn't talk to me. I was like, I don't know. I like took it almost as like collateral, I guess. I don't know. It's not reasonable logic, but
Right.
Jetzt ist nichts reasonable logic, bin ich
I don't
ehrlich.
know.
Did you take anything else besides your laptop?
No,
Nothing?
no. I mean,
All right. So when you left out of there, I mean, you saw that she was bleeding on her nose.
She's now about to ask a question with the same implication for a second time. Notice what occurred the first time.
Did you go back and check on her at any point?
no, I did not.
Okay. Did you try to call rescue or anything to make sure she was all right?
No, I did not.
No. Why?
The face of bewilderment, if there ever was one. It's very strange that he's so taken aback by such a question, especially when you take into account the possible outcome if he had actually called for help.
One medical expert revealed in the courtroom for the very first time that following Yardley Love's brutal beating, had George Hughley or anyone else called for help, she might have survived.
I didn't think it was like. I didn't think
Ich hasse
that
solche
she
Pressesprechennachrichten.
was,
Like, er hat nichts gesagt. Er hat gerade einen schönen Ausdruck, aber ja, might have survived. Das ist einfach, bruh. Das heißt einfach gar nichts. Natürlich wäre es besser, wenn man wenn jemand auf den Bogen geschlagen wird, der Kopf in die Wand gerammt wird. Klar wäre es besser, wenn er Hilfe kriegt. No fucking joke, du Scheißbrech. Ich mag sowas nicht. Solche Berichterstattung ist immer irgendwie einfach useless.
in need of like going to the.
Nein, die Kram, ich bin abvernetzt, aber willkommen.
I
Danke dir.
She just got. I mean, a play.
What do you think that?
I don't know. I mean, I don't.
Didn't you say when you were, and correct me if I'm wrong, when you were shaking her, her head was hitting the wall?
Well, that was in the beginning. That was initially when I walked in. Like she was like up in the corner, like saying, get out of here, like you know, like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
At any time when you were shaking her, did her head bang the wall?
Put yourself in George's position and imagine Yardley had in fact self-inflicted her injuries. You would perhaps say something along the lines of, absolutely not.
I wasn't hitting her against the wall, but like when she's like sitting there in the corner of like if it were like this, and I'm like already like you know, and I was like what the fuck was that about? Like that's such bullshit that you like do that. Like that's such a like bullshit move. Like would like you know like ever like hitting her, like what are you like doing like that like.
Okay. She has a pretty good knot on her head. That's why I'm asking how you can explain how that would have happened.
I mean, I don't even know when a knot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Like on the side of her head, she's been hit pretty good right there. So I'm just trying to figure out, did you hit her with something?
no.
Was that
no,
her head into the wall?
never touched her or struck her or anything.
Well, you touched her. You had your hands on her.
You know, I said never struck her.
Okay. So you
I mean,
I'm gonna go through this one more time, make sure we're on the same page.
der
You're
Fotze
pretty
selbst-
pissed at her
einfach
from a week
selbst.
ago.
Muss gar nichts machen.
First send you his text messages. Do
Der
you have
spricht
those
die
text
ganze Zeit, der
messages?
Bro. Meine
Where she
Güte.
says she, as you put it, fucked somebody?
I actually might have those. Yeah.
Alright, you got your phone with you?
Yeah.
And let's pull it out and scroll through it. Let's see if we can see those.
The next moment is fascinating because it symbolizes how drastically George's life is about to change. The interrogator will invade his personal space to make sure he's not deleting anything from his phone. Soon after that, she will take the phone out of his hand and place it on the table. Actions that would be completely unacceptable in almost any other circumstance.
I mean, didn't say them?
They were like, I guess what you call like an ongoing conversation, an ongoing like instant message, and it's gone.
Ja, der Handy ist auch gleich weg.
I'll use that one then. We'll leave that right here for now. All right. Let's talk about how you entered. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
because to have put your fist through the door.
no, it's actually my leg. I'm pretty sure.
Your leg?
Because that's why my leg's like this.
Yeah, you're right. That was your leg.
Yeah.
How'd you get all the bruising on your hand then?
This is all from lacrosse. This is all.
That's pretty fresh right there. Looks.
This is all from my lacrosse game on Saturday.
On
I
Saturday.
mean, I wear my arm, but you can see where my arm pads are.
Mm-hmm.
Right here, and my gloves right here, and that's
Even right there. I thought you wore those padded gloves.
This is
lacrosse.
This is all the difference. This is all from lacrosse.
Okay.
And I got whacked here. I remember 100% got whacked during the game when I was trying to kill the clock.
Mm-hmm. When you had her and you're shaking her, did she scratch you anywhere?
No.
No?
No.
Jetzt wissen Lacrosse Gloves. Ich weiß, worüber er redet. So eine fetten Torwarthandschuhe und er hat was für eine Armpads? Das ist dann so an deinem Unterarm, ja? Wie bei dem Dude hier. Okay, I guess, yeah. I see.
No.
She's a little girl. She's tiny.
Yeah, she did not. No, she didn't. She didn't
She didn't try to hit you or anything like that?
No.
Okay. So you kick in the door.
Yeah,
Go in.
that's how I got. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I stuck my hand through and unlocked it, and went in there, and everything.
Eigentlich schon fucking spooky, wie einfach das ist. Wenn jemand einfach die Intention hat, dir was Böses anzutun, ist es so free. Eigentlich ist so einfach. Auch irgendwo eine Tür eintreten und jemanden einfach umbringen. I mean, holy fucking shit. Spooky.
The detectives leave the room for roughly 3 minutes. When they return, it appears Ed is given the chance to lead with a few of his own questions.
I know we touched
Ja,
about
das Video, vorhin wurde gesagt, der Fall war
what happened
2010,
last
das
night.
heißt, die Footage ist 2010, aber das Video selbst ist vor 2 Monaten. Aber die Footage hier sollte 2010 sein, I guess.
But set it up for me, lead it up to me a little bit here. Why did you guys break up exactly? Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Well, we are not from the same area.
Right.
And she wants to move to New York, and I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing yet, but I'd like to move to San Francisco.
Why'd you take her computer?
I don't know. I have no idea.
There's maybe because there's evidence on the computer, emails that you sent?
No, there's no. I mean, you can read all the emails and everything back and forth.
Detective Ed now asks George if he held Yardley down on the bed. He's trying to subtly set the grounds for an argument of smothering, which isn't a terrible idea, but would be disproven by the autopsy regardless.
No.
Did you fall down on top of her, rest on the
We were
ground?
wrestling on the ground for like a little
Did
bit.
y'all wrestle on the bed at all?
No, I never I shook her.
No, I mean just kind of hold her down until she calmed down on the bed.
No, if anything that if anything that would have been like on the floor. When we were on the floor, when her nose started bleeding, we were like wrestling around, and that's when her nose started bleeding.
Was it pretty noisy when y'all were wrestling around?
No, I mean.
Was she screaming?
She was not screaming, actually.
I mean, if I'm cracking my head in the wall, I'm going to be saying, "Ow!"
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, she was not screaming.
Yeah.
She should have been, probably. I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
She should have been, probably. I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Why do you think she should have?
I don't know. I mean, well, she was screaming when I first came into the room. She was like, "No, I'm not talking to you. Get the fuck out of here," all that. But
At any point before you said you and this was your words, you said you tossed her on the bed and then you left.
Yeah.
All right. At any point before that, did she lose consciousness?
No.
Okay. What happened after you tossed her on the bed? Did she move? She talk about, say something?
I mean, I literally tossed her on the bed and turned around and...
Tossed her on the ground or tossed her
on
on
the
the
bed?
bed?
And
Tossed her on the
walked
bed.
out the door.
Okay. So when you tossed her back on the bed, in your mind, she was bleeding, but you said she was bleeding out her nose, and you didn't feel like you needed to call rescue?
No.
After that, after banging her head and
No,
shaking her and blood coming out her nose on the floor?
No. There's nothing about
you missed anything that you want to ask him right now?
There's nothing about like going to get anything or going, you know. I don't know why I took the computer.
George rambles about why there was no reason for taking the laptop for another 20 seconds, during which time Detective Reeves decides that enough information has been attained. Phase 2 is now complete, and the fate of Yardley is about to be revealed. These moments in interrogations are considered important for the purpose of gauging a suspect's response. It's believed that a sharp and sudden revelation can make it difficult to fabricate emotion. So in theory, this will cause a suspect to provide either a genuine response or a relatively obvious disingenuous response, which often comes in the pretense of shock or remorse.
I mean, I guess that's where my logic was at, but which is...
Well, I have to tell you something.
I think I know why you took the computer.
In the midst of what would have been a flawlessly executed moment, Detective Ed jumps back into the laptop mystery. The suspect has essentially confessed to murder. This really wasn't the time for regurgitated conjecture over a petty flaw.
I mean, I guess that's where my logic was at, but
genuine response or a relatively obvious disingenuous response, which often comes in the pretense of shock or remorse.
I mean, I guess that's where my logic was at, but which is...
Well, I have to tell you something.
I think I know why you took the...
Alter, auch wie schnell sie umguckt, ne? Das ist genau wie bei dem letzten Mal, als Ed unterbrochen hat. Sie ist sauer. Sie ist beide Male sehr, sehr wütend.
Which is...
Auf ihren Kopf.
Well, I have to tell you something.
I think I know why you took the computer.
In the midst of what would have been a flawlessly executed moment, Detective Ed jumps back into the laptop mystery. The suspect has essentially confessed to murder. This really wasn't the time for regurgitated conjecture over a petty theft misdemeanor, which Ed was clearly being advised of once again through nonverbal communication.
Why do you think?
You all right?
Go ahead.
No? She's dead.
Alter.
You killed her, George. You killed her.
She's dead?
I think you knew that already.
No, I did not.
In our opinion, George is being truthful here, and we believe the interrogator feels the same way in this moment.
She's dead? How the fuck is she dead?
Because you killed her, George.
How the fuck is she dead?
Because you killed her.
George appears to be going through a delayed response. It's so foreign a revelation that it's yet to sink in. Once the shock settles, he refuses to accept it, and this denial appears to be a momentary coping mechanism before the reality of the situation truly hits him, which will happen at this time in the footage.
Oh my god. She's dead?
Yes.
She's dead?
Yes.
She's dead?
She's dead.
How? How?
I already told you how. You already told us how as well.
How is she dead?
You just told us.
Oh my god.
You went in there to talk with her, but it got out of control, right, George?
The detectives will now add further pressure to keep him talking. Suspects will often divulge information in these moments in the panicked attempt to save themselves, and in doing so can shut down a more credible storyline they haven't thought up yet.
The alcohol got a hold of you. You kicked in her door. She started to fight with you. You punched her in the head, or you cracked.
She's not dead.
You cracked her head.
Dead.
You
She's
cracked her head
dead.
in the window or in the wall.
Not dead.
She is.
She's not dead.
I ain't BSing you right now. It's serious.
I want to see her.
George, look at me.
George.
She is dead.
You were not here to dance with us. You're here because she's dead. The alcohol.
I don't believe it. I don't believe
it's
it.
true.
Dude, I didn't. I don't believe that she's dead.
How did you?
I don't believe that she's dead. I don't believe that she's dead.
Did you punch her? Did you hit her?
Die Anzahl seiner wenigeren Likes lässt mich glauben, dass er die Wahrheit spricht. Aber doesn't fucking matter, bro. Tür eingetreten, Mädchen gekillt.
There's no way she's dead. She's not dead. I never did anything. I did not.
All right, let's calm down.
I did not like hurt her. Like she's not dead.
Let him calm down.
Just out of protocol, what we gotta do is stand up for me, George. Go ahead, put your hands behind your back. Turn around.
Relax.
Eine Menge mehr
Relax,
Pressure.
you'll be alright.
Tell me she's not dead. Tell me she's not dead, though, please. Will you tell me she's not dead?
Relax.
Please, will you tell me
You
she's
know what?
not
I wish
dead?
I could tell you that, George. 22-year-old. 22. And her life is done.
She's not. I did not do anything like that. Oh my God. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way. I do not believe it. I do not believe it. There's no way. There's no way she could be dead.
Either the head trauma or asphyxiation.
There was no asphyxiation.
Okay.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
What was she doing? What was she doing the last time you saw her?
She was like standing up with me. She was standing up with me. She was standing up with me, looking at me.
Was she standing or you were
She
holding
was
her?
standing up, looking at me.
Okay.
She's not dead. I know she's not dead. I know 100 million % she's not dead. I did. She cannot be dead.
I know it got out of hand, George.
No, it didn't. And she's like, no, like, get away from me. You have to leave, you have to leave. I was like a little bit persistent. I
Was she
mean,
screaming?
she should have been. I didn't kill her and leave. I didn't just, oh my God. I didn't kill her. I did not kill her. I did not kill her. I did not. There's no way I didn't do it. No way.
Was er sagen will.
No way.
Aber er hat es auf jeden Fall in Kauf
I want a
genommen.
lawyer. I don't believe this. I don't believe this. No, there's no way.
Was ist der Grund, warum jetzt nur noch Etta ist? Gibt es einen guten Grund dafür, dass du noch Etta ist und nicht mehr Frau Reeves? Weil jetzt realisiert er erstmal, was er alles schon gestanden hat, I guess. Jetzt eine halbe Stunde Zeit zu verstehen, was passiert ist. Handschellen angelegt. Ja, die Verhörmethode gibt schon auf jeden Fall Sinn auf psychologischer Ebene, aber auch auf ethischer. Ich find's irgendwie. In dem Fall, der Typ hat fucking Wunden von dem Mord und bla 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 bla. Ergibt Sinn, aber wenn es jetzt wie gesagt wie bei dem anderen Video wäre, ich bin mir noch nicht sicher, was ich darüber denken soll. Dieses. Bei den anderen Videos machen sie die gleichen Taktiken bei teilweise unschuldigen Leuten. I don't know. Aber warum ist sie jetzt weg? Was ist der Grund dafür? Er hat basically schon gestanden. Ich meine, du brauchst ihn nicht mehr weiter überführen. Also, safe nicht. Er hat gestanden, er hat die Verletzung dafür, wahrscheinlich auch noch Blut von der jungen Dame irgendwo. Ergibt super Sinn in dem Fall. I get it. Er ist der Bad Cop, aber leider bad im Sinne von schlecht und nicht böse. Ja, das stimmt. Aber er chillt mit ihm.
There's no way. There's no fucking way.
Er muss die Pressure hochhalten, sie muss sich besprechen, maybe. Das ergibt
Should I
Sinn.
talk to someone?
Who do you want to talk to?
Anyone. A
Er macht sich
lawyer.
ruhig für Pressure.
One will get appointed to you.
Okay, what do I do now? Go to jail?
Yeah.
Das ist
All right,
Pressure.
George, right now, I know you no longer want to talk to us, that's fine, just let you know something. We're working on a search warrant right now, and what it is we're going to have to collect some stuff from you, like what's called a buccal swab, okay?
Why did you guys come in and say you were searching for an assault?
I never said anything about an assault.
Someone came in this
I
morning.
never mentioned to you anything, just told you we're investigating something, wanted to know.
I'm investigating so.
Do you want me to call anybody for you, George?
At the start of this video, you were asked to think of what you would do in this situation. Really try and imagine what would be going through your mind in this moment, as you might just gain a restorative outlook from both knowing the answer while not having to answer this particular question. But there is of course no possible way you will gain anything close to the newfound perspective George has acquired in this moment, which unfortunately for him is no longer of use.
Want me to call your dad?
This is you calling mom.
Your mom? Is that who you'd like me to call?
Can I talk to her?
Mm-hmm.
Can I talk to her?
I don't know about that. What's your mom's name?
Oh my God.
What's her number?
301-96.
Okay.
How?
Did you want me to call your dad? Or just her?
She'll tell her. She can tell him everything.
Okay.
How?
Ich sehe nämlich mega diesen Fall von, wie hieß das? Ich glaube, es war sogar in Deutschland. Da waren irgendwie so 3 Jugendliche, so 12 oder so, und die haben ein Baby aus einem Kinderwagen genommen und damit basically Fußball gespielt. Und sie haben irgendwie das in einem Cartoon gesehen und wussten aber nicht, dass sie das Baby damit töten können. Und der Dude macht keinen so intelligenten Eindruck. Obviously mit Intention dahin gegangen. Aber er wollte die Action nicht killen. Was nichts daran ändert, dass sie fucking tot ist. Und ich meine, aber an dem Punkt, was es tatsächlich ändert, ne, es ist nicht Mörder, richtig? Es ist Totschlag, right? Es ist Totschlag. Richtig? An dem Punkt, an dem wir jetzt sind? Weil das war das erste Mal, dass er ehrlich war, der Bro. Das erste Mal, dass er ehrlich war, war seine Intention, sie zu killen, war nicht vorhanden. Aber ändert es was? Er hat ja auch keine Hilfe gerufen oder was auch immer. Er hat sie einfach blutend liegen lassen, nachdem er ihre fucking Tür eingetreten hat. Nach deutschem Recht ja. Weil es nicht seine Absicht war. Okay. Krasses Video, Alter.
I don't believe it. There's no way she's gonna be dead. There's no way.
Calm down.
There's no way. There's no way. There's no.
In Amerika wäre Second Degree Murder. Das ist das basically Totschlag oder nicht? Oh, gleich ist Timestamp, sorry, ich bin meine Fresse halt.
George, go ahead, put your foot down.
Oh my God.
Yep.
These next few moments are a turning point. The leg irons seem to initiate a shift in his constitution, and his denial will completely cease from this point forward. He will continue to ask why and how, but he will no longer reject the severity of what is happening.
Oh my God.
Huh. Heck of a day, bud.
Fellas, how are you this morning?
I ain't here the rest of my life.
I'm sorry?
So am I in here the rest of my life?
In this room?
No, in jail.
I don't know.
I'm a bad guy, man.
Never said you were, bud.
Call my mom.
I'm sorry?
Call my mom.
No, he knows. Yeah, you do want to talk to her. Now's when you need your family the most, bud. You know?
Dude. Didn't even.
George was taken to the regional jail soon after this moment. He would go on to plead not guilty to murder and was held without bond for almost 2 years awaiting trial. It began on February 6, 2012.
Well, testimony is now underway in the murder trial of the former UVA lacrosse player accused of killing his ex-girlfriend.
For the first time, we have video of Hughley as he was led into the courtroom.
Contrary to his appearance in the days that followed his arrest for the murder of 22-year-old Yardley Love, he appeared pale, frail, and gaunt.
The prosecution presented a case that Hughley went to Love's apartment that night, busted through her bedroom door, and in some way struck her, causing blunt force trauma, which led to her death.
We've also learned that on that night, George Hughley was exchanging what were described as playful text messages with 3 other women. Those messages continued late into the night and even after the alleged attack.
Throughout this trial, Hughley has sat expressionless, almost stoic at the defense table. All of that changed today. As this police interview was airing, Hughley began crying, was often pinching the bridge of his nose with his hands and looking down as he listened to the sound of his own hysterical voice. I did not kill her. I did not kill her. I did not.
In court Tuesday, Hughley's defense faced an uphill climb.
The most riveting testimony came from former UNC lacrosse player Michael Burns, who testified that one time while visiting UVA, he heard some yelling for help from Hughley's apartment. When he opened the door, he said he found Hughley with his arm wrapped around Love's neck, choking her. Hughley then let her go, and she ran out of the room crying.
A variety of medical experts took the stand this Wednesday, and they all seemed to agree that Love's death was the result of blunt force trauma to the head. This was followed by highly distressing witness testimony from Yardley's neighbors.
The noise was so loud, this was such a violent death that they heard it downstairs, two separate witnesses, and it sounded like a stereo crashing to the ground.
And it certainly didn't help that the jury knew that she was alive for 2 hours before she died, indicating that if George Hughley had come to his senses, he could have gone back there, called 911, and possibly saved her life.
Still, the driving argument for the defense is that George Hughley never intended to kill. They say this was all a tragic accident, that he does not deserve a life sentence, but instead a lesser charge and a second chance.
Guilty of second-degree...
Was genau?
Hughley had come to his senses. He could have gone back there, called 911, and possibly saved her life.
Still, the driving argument for the defense is that George Hughley never intended to kill. They say that
Ich, als Mann, der gerade jetzt die letzten 44 Minuten dieses Videos gesehen hat, als ausgebildeter Psychologe und Crime-Experte, der Punkt ist true, no? Er wollte sie actually nicht töten. Aber dass er dafür keine Strafe verdient, oder I guess eine geringere Strafe. Good Chat. Moral, verdient er dafür eine geringere Strafe? Ich meine, es war Totschlag, right? Es war nicht Mord. Er ist durch eine fucking Tür durchgetreten und hat ein junges Mädchen Kopf genommen und gegen die Wand gehauen. Würde ich sagen, also, I mean, aber Totschlag ist trotzdem nicht Mord. Ohne Intention, I guess, ist weniger böse, auch wenn das, das ist fucking lovely oder wie sie hieß, kacking, einfach egal. Nein, Strafe gerechter, ja, ich meine, der kommt durch Strafe an. Würdest du geringere Strafe? Schon. Right? Keine geringe Strafe? Doch geringer, nein, geringer. Warum? Mich interessiert eure Meinung. Es ist auch mega seltsam. Wir sind von irgendwie so lustige Video über Yumi, lustiges Video über Berliner Fahrradtresen, Caps Rekorde. Auf einmal sind wir bei so einem Mordfall. What happened in unserem Reaction-Channel? It's wild. Geringere Strafe als Mord ist gerechtfertigt. Aber die Verteidigung plätscht jetzt ja gerade auf nicht lebenslänglich. Ein solcher, zweite Chance im Leben nach sowas, wenn du dumm bist und das verschuldet hast, würdet ihr sagen, ja oder nein? Weiß zwar nicht die Intention, aber er hat sie willentlich, ist an ihre scheiß Tür eingebrochen, hat sie getötet und sie blutend auf dem Boden liegen lassen. Und zweite Chance verdient? Yes, no. Zweite Chance verdient? Ja, nein. Good chat, hit me. Dumm ist legit nicht morden, ja, aber also dumm, also du kannst dumm sein und einfach, keine Ahnung, den Busch nicht morden, dein Jungle gankt dich, aber du kannst auch dumm sein und jemanden töten, das ist ein bisschen was anderes. Eine andere Art der Dummheit. Oh, ich liebe meinen zwiegespaltenen Twitch-Chat. Denn beide Sichtweisen haben ihre Argumente und beide Sichtweisen sind nachvollziehbar. Mindestens 15 Jahre danach, zweite Chance. So nach dem Motto, er kann sich rehabilitieren, wenn er Reue zeigt, beziehungsweise er hat ja jetzt schon Reue gezeigt. Oder nach welchem Maßstab würdest du dann eine Rehabilitation quasi zulassen? Also, it's rough. Wollen wir ganz kurz zu Ende hören, actually. Ich glaube, das interessiert an dem, was genau die Verteidigung
The driving argument for the defense is that George Hughley never intended to kill. They say this was all a tragic accident, that he does not deserve.
I mean, a tragic accident. Also, I guess der Part, der kein Unfall ist der Einbruch. Und dann der Unfall und auch nicht die Gewalt hat, ist aus der Sicht dann auch kein Unfall. Aber der Mord, also nicht der Mord, der Todesfall. Der Totschlag ist ein Unfall oder was? Das ist ziemlich actually genau, wie das ausgelegt wird, aber ist wahrscheinlich irrelevant, weil ich das NA-Rechtssystem nicht verstehen werde, also who cares?
A life sentence, but instead a lesser charge and a second chance.
Guilty of second-degree murder, and you will hear the sentence momentarily.
A 26-year prison term came down.
George Hughley was brought to court to hear his lawyers plead for the judge to cut in half the 26-year sentence recommended by the jury. Judge Edward Hogshire did trim it back, but by just 3 years.
The jury in this case recommended 26 years. The judge changed it to 23, probably a small difference, but why would he do that?
It's surprising, isn't it, considering this is a woman who was beaten to death in her own bed.
We think that George was convicted of a crime inconsistent with the facts, and he received a penalty inconsistent with what the evidence would require.
There are no winners in this case.
With credit for the time that George Hughley has
Ja,
already
die ist tot,
served in
natürlich gibt's
jail,
keinen Gewinner,
and
hä?
if he gets time off for good behavior, he could be out in 18 years. And the family for Yardley Love has put out this statement saying, "We find no joy in other sorrow. We are relieved to put this chapter behind us."
As for George, he was incarcerated at the maximum security Augusta Correctional Center for 10 years, and has since been transferred to a prison work camp in Richmond where he's expected to serve out the rest of his sentence. The present consensus in the media is that George had no intention of killing Yardley, but that his 23-year sentence is still appropriate, if not lenient, and that him being drunk to any degree at the time of the murder is not an excuse, nor does it lessen the culpability of his actions to any extent. He'll be released at the age of 45, meaning he will have the second chance at life Yardley was never afforded. You can decide for yourself whether he deserves it or not.
Twitch-Chat, decide for yourself, Twitch-Chat. Deserved oder nicht deserved? Du bist mit 45 ein anderer Mensch als mit 17 oder so, I guess. Aber sie ist mit 22 genauso tot, wie wenn sie 45 wäre, ist sie immer noch tot. Was ein Video, zu dem ihr mich jetzt hier gebracht habt. Ich fand die Interrogation Tactics von der weiblichen Detective auf jeden Fall sehr interessant. Aber ich bin auch nicht sicher, ob ich das so gut finde, honestly. In der Art und Weise, wie es durchgeführt wird. Ich meine, ich glaube, an dem Punkt, wenn du so einen Tatverdächtigen hast, mit all dem, was du da drumherum schon wusstest, why the fuck not, I guess? Bitte noch so ein Video. Ja, das war ein bisschen too much, glaube ich. Das war ein bisschen too much. Wir hatten das hier schon mal. Das war ein bisschen weniger extrem. Okay, noch eine andere kontroverse Frage, die mich interessieren würde in meinem geliebten Twitch-Chat. Habt ihr da draußen, als ihr es gerade zugeguckt habt, mit mir gemeinsam, an irgendeinem Punkt dieses Videos Mitleid nicht mit ihr, sondern mit ihm gehabt? Nicht mit der Person, die tot ist, nicht mit Miss Love, sondern mit ihm. An irgendeinem Punkt. Ja oder nein? I need to know. Ich meine wirklich Mitleid. Ich meine nicht so ein bisschen nachvollziehbar, ein bisschen Empathie. Ich meine actually Mitleid. Ja, nein. Oh, es geht wieder so auseinander. Holy fuck. Holy fuck. Muss rough sein, 0 IQ zu haben. Ein bisschen schon, irgendwie schon. Ja, teilweise kam er mir persönlich vor, wie halt, wie gesagt, diese 12-jährigen Story, wie halt irgendwie so ein großes Baby, das sich seiner Kraft nicht bewusst ist und einfach jemanden umgebracht hat. Basically. Wie so ein großes Baby, das nicht weiß, was weh tut. Ja, ich hatte Mitleid aber weg für den Rest seines Lebens. Das ist er basically. Ich hatte bereits Mitleid zu Beginn, er wirkt sehr krank. Ich hatte Mitleid mit seinem Englisch. Ist eine harte Frage. Ja, natürlich. Ich meine, no doubt. Das ganze Video ist ein hartes Thema. Also, ist jemand gestorben. Obviously ist ein hartes Thema. Aber umso mehr interessiert es mich. Von Anfang an immer schon gegen die Person, die da sitzt, wenn ich schon weiß, was die Person gemacht hat. Also, dass wir nichts Positives über den jungen Mann zu sagen haben, ist ja logisch. Er hat jemanden umgebracht. Er hat die Tür eingetreten. Habe ich ja nicht relativiert in irgendeiner Art und Weise. Das eine, was ja in dem Video auch ehrlich von ihm war, am Anfang hat er auch noch einfach gelogen zu dem, was passiert ist. Aber dass er sie nicht töten wollte, das war ja durchaus ehrlich. Zumindest kam es so rüber. Right? Zumindest kam es so rüber. Sie war von Anfang an überzeugt, dass er es war, zumindest seit der Fahrt zur Polizeistation. Ich meine, sie haben auch genug. Also du meinst jetzt wegen der Frage, ob sie so jemanden interviewen sollte, auf die Art und Weise interrogaten sollte? Oder wie? Damit er, dass er nie gelernt hat, mit Wut umzugehen und deswegen Gewalt genutzt hat und blind vor Wut jemanden umgebracht hat. Ja, also, ja. Damit das, also quasi, dass ihm seine Eltern nicht mehr auf den Weg geben konnten als das. Er hat auch die Kopfwunde, er hat sie doch mit der Kopfwunde liegen gelassen. Wer da jemanden so liegen lässt, nimmt die tote Person willentlich in Kauf. Absolut. Safe. Er ist auf jeden Fall sehr dumm. 100%. Aber ich glaube schon, dass, natürlich Dummheit schützt vor Strafe nicht. Aber er hat nicht gedacht, dass sie actually stirbt. Right? Aber der hat gar nichts, Mann. Der hat den fucking also, wenn jemand jetzt in einem Streit, stell dir vor, du streitest mit deinem besten Freund und er schubst dich auch so in die Treppe runter. Du gehst drauf. Scheiße. Nicht geil. Niemand gewinnt, niemand mag das. Aber es ist nochmal eine ganz andere Situation. Eine andere Art des Totschlags, als wenn du die fucking Tür eintrittst und sie tötest und blutend liegen lässt, right? Wenn du deinen Kumpel die Treppe runterschubst, sobald das passiert, im Effekt selbst, kann, I guess, passieren, aber jeder Kumpel würde danach sofort einen Notarzt anrufen. Kannst du nicht liegen lassen. Dein besten Freund. Unmöglich. Also ja. 26 Jahre, aber ich habe jetzt so verstanden, dass er 3 Jahre reduziert bekommen hat von dem Richter am Ende. Heißt 23 Jahre. Und im Alter von 45, ergibt Sinn, ne? Ja, sie war 22, er war 22, also 23 Jahre Knast und mit 45 wird er released. Holy moly, was ein Video. Was schlagt ihr in meinem Discord für Sachen vor? Es ist ja echt krass. Von seichter League of Legends